So I hope everybody's well. What I was looking to do today was to talk about trusting and not knowing. It's a theme that's been coming up a lot in my talks, as well as in my life. So what I was looking to do was shed some light on the topic and hopefully offer some pointers that you can use to allow yourself really to be in that state of not knowing, in which there is just really this singularity, this one without the other. I think the problem with not knowing when we initially hear this is that it's so against everything that we understand. It so goes against the grain of everything that we understand about our lives. We've been conditioned from a very early age to be in this place of control, to be in this place of doing. And we find that it works to help us get the stability and the security that we want in our lives, or so we feel. And then we come across this thing called not knowing, and it's really about surrendering. And that can be quite uncomfortable for somebody who's been conditioned their entire life to not surrender, to not just go with the flow of life. How are you going to pay your bills? How is that career going to work? And it all sounds rather airy-fairy. Like I said, one of the motivations for doing this video is something that's coming up a lot in my talks, and I've been experiencing this a lot in my life as well. And hopefully by offering some personal experience, it may help you to start taking those tentative steps towards being more trusting of life. Not knowing is this beautiful place where we really have no idea what's going to happen next, and we surrender to whatever's happening in life. And it does sound rather airy-fairy, and it does also require a lot of trust as well. But what we find is, if we take our time, what we may find is we'll start realizing that by being in this place of openness, by being in this place of surrender, we may find that things start working out for us. And it creates this trusting and this patience in us. And it's something that's been experienced on a moment by moment basis. So literally about 5 seconds ago, I was like, well, okay, you seem to be talking quite fast. Where are you going with this, and what's going to happen? And immediately there was just this surrender of, well, I don't know, and it's okay not to know. And what I'll do is I'll just go with this and see where it really takes me. I think one of the key components of not knowing is really to trust that it's going to be okay. And like I said, I'm going to give some personal examples. I moved back up to Manchester, which is my hometown, and what I noticed was that my current city that I'm living in. What I noticed was, since I've got here, I'm having to really trust in whatever's happening in the moment. And what I found personally is that I always seem to be in the right place. I always seem to know the right thing to do. I've noticed my work starting to grow as well. And I'm noticing that the more I step out of the way, the more there's less of this idea of personal will or personal choice or somebody trying to do something, that the more it tends to work out. I've got a list of videos that I'm meant to be recording, and what I find is every time I come to record a video, an idea pops into my head. Well, why don't you just talk about this instead? So it creates a situation where I'm starting to get more messages from people saying, well, that was timely. I really needed to hear that. And I would love to say that somehow I've ascended to such realities that I knew that, but the reality is I don't. And it really just comes from this place of trusting this, not knowing that whatever's happening, life will always take care. And it will always make sure that you're in the right place. It will always make sure that you're fed, clothed, and you're abundant. And yes, okay, you're going to have to do some things, maybe, record some videos or whatever you're doing in your world, as I'm doing, or doing meetings, and then literally surrendering to whatever's going to happen. It's almost like asking a question and just surrendering, the desire or the need for an answer. And what we tend to find is that the answers do come, and they come in ways that we couldn't have even imagined. And it brings up this real humility, because you realize how little you know. And you become then more trusting and more open to this flow of life. And you realize that not knowing is so much more expansive than knowing, because knowing is limited. It's within this body-mind. It's about somebody trying to control the outcome, or somebody trying to do something. Whereas with not knowing, we're constantly seeing so much more of what we truly are. And what we find is, working in hand with trust, that trust in not knowing deepens. And then what you find is the idea of trust and not knowing collapse as well into this one beautiful singularity in which life is just happening. And it's happening in the most beautiful and elegant ways. And it then helps us further our understanding of not knowing. It helps us deepen our trust. I remember doing an interview a couple of months ago, and I was asked about not knowing, and I remember at the time thinking, wow, what a great answer. It was just flowing, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. And now I'm realizing that as we go deeper into this idea of not knowing, that there are subtleties. There is this trusting, there is this surrendering, there is this letting go, there is this real just allowing things to happen, but not in some sort of unempowered way. And if we were to just slowly but surely start trusting that life knows, and that it's okay to stay in this life or a place of not knowing, that we may find that what may happen is life then just starts working with us. And in that, the duality that exists between us and life starts dissolving, and we realize that it's really just this one singularity that's expressing itself in as many ways as humanly possible. And then there's a real joy, and there's a real pleasure, because there is just this letting go that's constantly happening. Like I said, I mean, the last couple of months, I got here and I wasn't sure what to do, and there was this real knee-jerk reaction to want to control things and make things happen. And I find I'm surrendering more. I'm finding that I'm letting go more, and I seem to be so much more happier. And I seem to just be in this place where things are just making sense. Who they're making sense to, again, I don't know, and I don't care to know. And yet something emerges from this not knowing. And it's a true knowing. It's a knowing that's surrendered to life and knows when to go forward and when to stop, as opposed to this body, mind, and this idea that I've got to make something happen, or something's got to be done, and I've got to control everything, which is such, there's such a jaggedness, such a harshness in that, and it's such an inefficient usage of energy as well. Because when we surrender, what we find is we're capable of so much more. We find that the limits that we have as to who we truly are constantly breached by this thing called life, and we see that we are so much more. And it brings up, as I said, this humility. It also shows us we're so much more capable of doing things that we never thought we could do. And that trusting that life will take care allows us to really see who we truly are. And really the entry to that is just to take your time. I mean, I think sometimes what can happen is we hear these ideas and we go, oh my God, that's quite scary, that's quite overwhelming, or I couldn't possibly do that, and oh, he's like this, but I'm not like this. And yet if we take these baby steps, we may find that we take that pressure off ourselves. I've found that my trust has deepened in this not knowing as life has gone along. I would love to say that there's this pinnacle of not knowing or this pinnacle of trusting, but that would just be a complete and utter lie. However, if we take our time, we allow ourselves to go through that process, what we may find is that everything just seems to work, and it just seems to come together in the right time, in the right place. And it always provides such feedback, such lessons, such wisdom. And as I said, it's absolutely humbling. And it also allows this exploration as well. I've noticed that I seem to be wanting to explore more and exploring more this terrain, this field of consciousness. And sometimes it's absolutely wonderful to see the insights that come up. And again, those insights lead to an even deeper trusting as well. So really, trusting and not knowing are those gifts that keep on giving. And after a while, like I said, the two collapse into this one singularity, which is just occurring in the most beautiful of ways. So try some of these ideas, try some of these baby steps. Just trust in the smallest of things. Allow yourself to surrender and let go, and sort of like say, well, okay, I will just leave this decision in life's hands, and see how you go with it. You may find that as you start surrendering, this idea of control, and this idea of control starts being superseded by this letting go and this trusting, that you may find that life always works out and you're always where you're meant to be. So I think that's what I want to say about that. Thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you so much for the feedback as well I'm getting from the videos, and also the suggestions as well, which I promise that I will be getting to in time as well. And thank you for the questions that have been sent in as well, and I'm really enjoying exploring as well these questions and how we can sit together and really discuss, you know, solutions or answers, because it's all very well giving out a stock answer. No doubt that will probably happen in time, but at this moment in time, it feels really good to be able to just explore together and really kind of just fall into that field of consciousness, and really just allow the energy to do what it needs to do. So thank you so much for watching the video again, and have an absolutely wonderful day wherever you are.